The chapel bell tolled like a heartbroken lover's final sigh, echoing across the sun-baked hills of Extremadura, where the air hung heavy with the scent of wild thyme and regret. As the mourners filed in, uncles with calloused hands clutching rosaries, aunts dabbing at eyes with lace handkerchiefs, every gaze darted to the empty pew at the back, the one reserved for the ghost who wasn't there. Julia Vargas, the prodigal granddaughter, the one who'd traded family Sundays for stolen weekends in Madrid, had sent only a telegram. "Forgive me. I can't face this without her." Father Ignacio's voice cracked as he began the eulogy, his words weaving through the stained glass light like threads of faded silk. Elena Vargas was the heart of this family, the quiet force that bound us through wars and weddings, through the droughts that cracked the earth and the rains that mended it. But midway through, as he paused to sip from a silver chalice, a murmur rippled like wine through dry grass. Someone had glimpsed the casket at the altar, its lid slightly ajar, as if even death couldn't contain her secrets. Julia Vargas gripped the steering wheel of her rented Fiat, the engine's hum a feeble rebellion against the knot twisting in her gut. The road from Seville snaked through cork oak forests, their twisted trunks like arthritic fingers clawing at the late afternoon sky. It was June in western Spain, the kind of heat that pressed against your skin like an unwanted embrace, but Julia felt only the chill of absence. Grandma Elena's funeral was tomorrow, and she was still 2 hours out, deliberating at every fork whether to turn back to the life she built in Barcelona, the one with Juliana's laughter echoing off high-ceilinged apartments, with cafe mornings where their hands brushed under the table like secrets shared in code. She hadn't spoken to her family in months, not since the explosive Christmas dinner 2 years back, when her cousin Miguel had jokingly outed her over the lamb paella. "Julia's got a friend in the city. You know, the kind that makes Abuela Elena blush when she asks about wedding bells." The table had frozen, forks hovering like guillotines. Her father, Tomás, had slammed his fist down, his face reddening like the Rioja in his glass. "This isn't our way. Not in this house, not in God's country." Her mother, Sofia, had wept silently into her napkin, whispering later in the kitchen, "Mija, you're breaking her heart. Your grandmother's, mine, all of ours." But Elena? Elena had pulled her aside that night, her arthritic hands cupping Julia's face, eyes sharp as olive pits. "Love is love, me Nina. Don't let them clip your wings for it." That was the last time Julia saw her alive. A stroke, they'd said on the phone, swift in her sleep, in the old finca overlooking the Guadiana River. Julia had booked the flight from Barcelona immediately, but doubt had crept in like fog off the Atlantic. What good was her presence now? She'd be the pariah, the lesbian granddaughter whispered about in pews, her very breath a reminder of the family's unraveling threads. And Juliana, God Juliana, had begged her to go. "Face them, Jules. For Elena. For us." Juliana Ruiz, with her poet's soul and architect's precision, had been Julia's anchor for 3 years now. They'd met at a queer-lit festival in Madrid, bonding over Lorca's gypsy ballads and the ache of hidden desires. Juliana, 28 to Julia's 26, was the steady one. Dark curls that smelled of jasmine, a laugh that could coax stars from a cloudy night, hands that sketched blueprints by day and traced Julia's spine by candlelight. Julia glanced at the passenger seat, where Juliana's sketchpad lay open to a half-finished drawing of the finca, Elena's home, now a mausoleum of memories. Juliana hadn't come. Work deadlines in Barcelona, she'd said, but Julia knew the truth. "Your family's not ready for me yet," Juliana had murmured over their last call, voice soft as sea glass. "But I'll be waiting when you get back. Promise me you'll fight for this, for us." Julia had promised, but as the odometer ticked toward the village of Jerez de los Caballeros, the weight of that vow felt heavier than the gold cross her mother had slipped into her palm as a child. The finca appeared like a mirage at dusk. Whitewashed walls cracked by time, terracotta roof glowing under the setting sun, bougainvillea spilling over the arched doorway like frozen fireworks. Cars lined the gravel drive, her Uncle Raphael's battered Land Rover, Aunt Carmen's polished Audi from Lisbon. Laughter spilled from the open windows, mingled with the clink of glasses and the low strum of a guitar. "Awake already?" Julia parked at the edge, heart hammering. She smoothed her black linen blouse, Juliana's pick, elegant but you, and stepped out, the crunch of stones under her espadrilles the only sound louder than her pulse. Sophia spotted her first, emerging from the kitchen with a tray of jamon-wrapped dates. Her mother's face crumpled, then hardened. Julia. You came. It wasn't a question, but the accusation hung there. Sophia, 52, still wore her hair in the same severe bun. Her figure softened by years of consoling stews and unspoken griefs. She set the tray down and pulled Julia into a hug that smelled of garlic and lavender soap. Fierce, then faltering. Your grandmother. She asked for you every day. Inside, the air was thick with cigar smoke and condolences. Tomas stood by the fireplace, broad-shouldered at 55, his mustache graying like storm clouds. He nodded curtly, eyes avoiding hers. Sit. Eat. Uncle Raphael clapped her back too hard, his belly straining against his shirt. The wild city girl returns. Elena would be pleased. But Aunt Carmen, sharp-eyed and silver-tongued, leaned in with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. We thought you might skip it altogether. After everything. Julia forced a smile, perching on the edge of a velvet settee. The room spun with relatives. Cousins chasing toddlers, great-aunts murmuring prayers. No one mentioned Juliana, but the absence pulsed like a bruise. Conversation skirted the edges. Elena's legendary gazpacho, her rose garden that bloomed defiantly each spring, until Miguel sauntered in, beer in hand, his grin wolfish. Jules. Heard you're designing bridges now. Building anything sturdy enough to hold a family together. The jab landed and laughter rippled awkwardly. Julia's cheeks burned. Something like that, she replied, voice steady. But inside, the old wounds reopened. The calls she'd stopped answering, the holidays spent in Juliana's arms instead of here. The slow erosion of blood ties for the sake of something purer, truer. Night fell, and the family dispersed to guest rooms, the finca sighing into silence. Julia slipped out to the garden, where Elena's bench overlooked the river valley, stars pricking the velvet sky like forgotten promises. She sat, pulling her knees up, and let the tears come hot, silent, for the woman who'd taught her to ride bareback on Maras at dawn, who'd slipped her the first copy of The Well of Loneliness with a wink and a read this under the covers. But remember, hearts don't lie. A rustle in the shadows. Tomas emerged, a silhouette against the moonlit olives. Can't sleep. His voice was gruff but softer than she'd heard in years. No, papa. She wiped her face, bracing. He sat beside her, the bench creaking under his weight. For a long moment only crickets sang. Then, your grandmother left something for you. Said to give it tomorrow at the chapel. After the burial. He paused, rubbing his neck. She knew you wouldn't come easy. But she believed in you, Julia. More than I. Well. The words hung, unfinished, a bridge half-built. Julia nodded, throat tight. I loved her too. More than words. He stood abruptly. Get some rest. The priest expects us at dawn. As he walked away, Julia wondered if that was absolution or just another deferral. Sleep evaded her, the room's white walls closing in like judgment. By 4 a.m. she was up, dressing in the dim light, Juliana's voice a ghost in her ear. Fight for us. The drive to the chapel was a blur of mist-shrouded hills, the family car procession snaking behind like a funeral cortege for the living. The village chapel, Nuestra Señora de la Pena, perched on a bluff, its bells calling the faithful. Mourners gathered. The extended Vargas clan, neighbors in embroidered shawls, even the mayor with his ceremonial sash. Father Ignacio, robes flowing, led them in hymns that swelled like ocean waves. Julia knelt in the back pew, the wood biting into her knees, inhaling the incense that masked the faint rot of mortality. Then came the procession to the grave. A slow march down the cypress-lined path to the family plot, where Elena's stone waited, engraved simply. Elena Vargas, 1928–2025. Beloved. Unbroken. The casket, polished oak with brass fittings, was lowered by pallbearers. Tomas, Raphael, Miguel, and 2 cousins. But as the ropes uncoiled a hitch, the lid shifted, not fully sealed. Wait, Sophia whispered, hand to mouth. Father Ignacio frowned, signaling the men to pause. Curiosity overtook decorum. Raphael pried it open with gentle insistence. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The coffin was empty. No body, no shroud, just a single envelope, yellowed with age, propped against the satin lining, addressed in Elena's looping script. For Julia, my brave one. Open with love. Julia's world tilted. She pushed forward, family parting like Red Sea waters. Hands trembling, she lifted the envelope, the paper crackling like dry leaves. Inside, a letter, and tucked beneath, a photograph, faded sepia of two women in 1940s dresses, arms linked, smiling defiantly on a Barcelona promenade. One was Elena, young and radiant. The other, a stranger with Juliana's eyes. Mi querida Julia. If you're reading this, I'm gone but not silent. This family, with its roots deep in these stubborn soils, has always prized tradition over truth. I know the pain you've carried. Their judgments, your father's silence, the way love gets twisted into shame. But listen, I was you once. In the shadows of Franco's Spain, I loved Carmen, my Carmen, the poet who danced with shadows and wrote verses that could shatter stone. We met in 47, stealing moments in hidden cafes, her hand in mine like a revolution. She was my Juliana, you see. Fierce, kind, the light in my endless night. We dreamed of Paris, of a life unapologetic but fear one. I stayed, married your grandfather for the facade. Buried her letters in this very plot when she left for good. Tuberculosis, they said. But it was a broken heart that took her piece by piece. Don't repeat my mistakes, Nina. Love isn't a sin, hiding it is. I've left the finca to you, half shares with your parents, but the garden, the bench, the river view? Yours. Plant your roses there with Juliana. Let them bloom wild. And tell Tomas, forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the strongest root of all. Fly free, my girl. With all my love, always, Abuela Elena. Tears blurred the ink, but Julia read on. The crowd hushed, the Extremadura wind whispering through the branches like approbation. Tomas stepped forward, face ashen, reading over her shoulder. Madre, he murmured, voice breaking. The revelation hung in the air like smoke from a doused fire, acrid and lingering. Julia clutched the letter to her chest, the photograph slipping into her palm, a talisman warm as Elena's hand had once been. Around her, the family fractured into whispers. Aunt Carmen crossing herself rapidly, muttering Madre de Dios. Miguel's beer gut deflating with a whoosh of disbelief. Sophia sinking to her knees in the dirt, keening softly. Why didn't she tell us? Why hide? Father Ignacio cleared his throat, ever the shepherd. A private matter, perhaps best discussed indoors. Let us pray for Elena's soul. And her secrets. But prayer felt hollow now. A rote chant against the tide of truth crashing over them. The casket was resealed empty, lowered into the earth with symbolic handfuls of soil from each mourner. Julia tossed hers last, the grains pattering like rain on parched ground. As the group dispersed toward the finca for the post-funeral feast, she lingered, tracing the fresh mound with her toe. Thank you, she whispered to the wind, for seeing me. Back at the house, the mood was a storm cloud, somber faces masking tempests. The long oak table groaned under platters of tortilla española, ensalada rusa, and Elena's famed albondigas, but appetites had fled. Wine flowed instead, loosening tongues. Uncle Raphael, red-faced after his third glass, slammed his palm down. This is madness. Empty coffin? Letters of that? What kind of legacy is this for the girl? Legacy. Sophia shot back, her bun unraveling like her composure. It's honesty, Raphael. Something we've all lacked. She turned to Julia, eyes pleading. Did you know? About Abuela. Julia shook her head, the weight of the secret settling like dust. No, mama. But it makes sense now, the book she lent me. The way she'd watch the horizon like she was waiting for someone. She glanced at Tomas, who sat at the head, staring into his untouched plate. Papa. He didn't look up. Your grandmother was a complicated woman. The war changed people, made them hide parts of themselves. A pause heavy as lead. But this? Handing the house to you like some queer inheritance? It's a slap in the face. The word queer landed like a stone in still water, ripples of shock widening. Miguel snorted. Come on, Tomas. We all know why Julia stayed away. Parading her lifestyle in front of Elena? No wonder the old lady had to write secret notes. Enough. Julia surged to her feet, chair scraping like a scream. The room fell silent, fork suspended. Her voice, when it came, was steel wrapped in silk. Juliana's influence, the calm before her own gales. You think this is about me? It's about Elena. About all the lives we force into shadows because it's easier than facing the light. She loved a woman, Miguel. Just like I loved Juliana. And she chose to honor that at the end, not bury it. Tomas's face twisted, mustache quivering. Love? This isn't love, Julia. It's confusion, rebellion. I raised you better, church on Sundays, family first. What would your grandfather say? He'd say the same as Elena, Julia retorted, heat rising. That blood doesn't dictate worth. That you don't get to judge hearts you can't even see. She pulled the photo from her pocket, sliding it across the table. The women gazed out, timeless, unashamed. Look at her, Papa. That's joy. That's what she wanted for me. Sophia reached for the image, fingers trembling. Carmen. I remember her visiting once before I married your father. Beautiful with that laugh like bells. Elena never spoke of it after. Tears welled anew. Oh me, her manna-in-law, what burdens you carried alone. Aunt Carmen, who'd been silent, leaned forward, her silver hair catching the lamplight. Burden? Or blessing? I've wondered, Tomas, why Elena never remarried after grandfather died. The way she'd slip out to the garden at night, humming old flamenco tunes. A sly smile cracked her facade. Perhaps we all have our hidden verses. The admission cracked the dam. Relatives murmured, Cousin Anna admitting to a college fling with her roommate, never pursued. Uncle Raphael confessing a youthful crush on the village baker's son, drowned in brandy and denial. Laughter bubbled up, tentative, then full-throated, the table transforming from battlefield to confessional. But Tomas remained an island, arms crossed, jaw set. As dusk painted the room in bruised purples, Julia excused herself to the garden bench. The river murmured below, a silver thread in the twilight. She dialed Juliana, the phone a lifeline across the miles. Jules? Is everything. And nothing. Juliana's voice, warm as hearthfire, wrapped around her. Tell me. So she did, the empty coffin, the letter, the photo of Elena and her Carmen. She saw us in her, Jay knew we'd fight for this. A pause, then Juliana's breath, soft and sure. And we will. But your family, how'd they take it? Like a bomb. Papa is furious about the will. Thinks it's favoritism. Or fear, Juliana said gently. Give him time. Elena did. Julia leaned back, stars emerging like shy confessions. I miss you. This place feels half empty without your sketches. Sketching the finca right now, actually. The bench where we'll sit, you and I watching sunsets. Send me a photo of the river. Julia snapped one, the water glowing like molten gold, and hit send. Done. Wish you were here. Soon, Amor. Fly back Thursday. We'll toast Elena with that vermouth she loved. The call ended, but Juliana's presence lingered, a balm. Footsteps crunched, Sophia, carrying 2 glasses of sherry. Mind company? Never, Mama. They sat in companionable quiet, the liquid amber warming their palms. Your father. He's scared, Julia. Scared of losing you like he lost his own mother young. This, your life with Juliana. It's a mirror to his failures. It's not failure, Julia said softly. It's evolution. Sophia sipped, eyes distant. Maybe. Elena always said the river bends but doesn't break. Perhaps we can too. Night deepened, fireflies dancing like errant souls. Inside, the guitar strummed again. Flamenco mournful then fierce. Julia and Sophia rejoined, the feast stretching into stories. Elena's wartime smuggling of bread to neighbors, her secret library of forbidden books. Laughter wove with tears, the empty casket's shadow fading into something luminous. But betrayal brewed in the quiet hours. As midnight tolled, Julia slipped to her room, the letter tucked under her pillow like a ward. Sleep came fitful, dreams of coffins and kisses intertwining. She woke to Dawn's pink fingers, the finca stirring with coffee aromas. Downstairs, Tomas waited, the will spread on the table like a gauntlet, Elena's notary stamp fresh, dividing the estate. The house to Julia for the heart that beats truest, with usufruct rights for Sophia, and the vineyards to Tomas. You can't accept this, he said, voice low thunder. It's emotional blackmail. She pitied you. Pity. Julia's laugh was bitter. That's your lens, Papa. She trusted me with her home, her truth. Because I chose honesty over comfort. He stood chair-toppling. Honesty? Running off to Barcelona, shaming us with your choices, Miguel told me everything, your partner. The pride marches. It's not natural. The door burst open, Carmen disheveled, waving her phone. Tomas, stop. I just spoke to the notary in Badajoz. Elena updated the will last month, after her checkup. She was lucid, insistent. And there's more, a codicil. For you, Julia. She handed over a sealed addendum. Julia broke the wax, scanning the lines. To my granddaughter. The locket from Carmen, hidden in the rose arbor. Wear it and remember. Love's legacy is action, not apology. Tomas's face drained of color. This is coercion. I'll contest it. Contest what? A dying woman's wish. Sophia entered, eyes flashing. You're the one who's hidden, Tomas, your anger, your doubts. Elena saw through it. Now we all do. The argument escalated, voices rising like a tempest. Accusations of betrayal, of clinging to ghosts over the living. Miguel slunk in, smirking, but even he faltered under Carmen's glare. You started this years ago, nephew, with your loose tongue. Julia fled to the garden, heart pounding. The rose arbor loomed, thorns glinting like accusations. She parted the blooms, fingers pricked, and there it was. A silver locket, engraved with intertwined initials, E&C. Inside, a tiny portrait of Carmen smiling eternal. Clasping it around her neck, Julia felt Elena's pulse sync with hers. But betrayal's sting sharpened. Miguel perhaps had whispered doubts to Tomas, fueling the fire. Or was it Tomas himself, projecting his own unspoken regrets? The family rift widened, the finca's walls echoing with slammed doors and sobs. By noon, the notary arrived, a bespectacled man from the village, confirming the will's ironclad nature. Senora Vargas was clear. No amendments. Tomas stormed out to the vineyards, scythe in hand, hacking at weeds like foes. Julia retreated to the bench, dialing Juliana again. It's unraveling, Jay. Papa wants to fight the will. Says it's all my fault. His fault, Juliana corrected firmly. Breathe, Jules. Elena chose you because she knew you'd honor it. Not hoard it, but heal with it. Come home soon. We'll plan the garden together. Your roses, my trellises. The words anchored her, a promise amid chaos. But as the sun climbed, a shadow fell, Miguel lurking by the olives. Cousin, he called, voice oily. Heard about the locket. Family heirloom, huh? Bet there's more where that came from. Abuela's little black book of sins. Leave it, Miguel. But he stepped closer, breath sour with last night's wine. Just saying, Tomas is raging. Might dig up dirt on your girlfriend to sway the courts. Barcelona's not so far. A quick search. The threat coiled, betrayal's serpent. Julia's fists clenched. Touch her, and you'll regret it. He laughed, sauntering off. Alone, Julia wept. Not for the will, but for the fractures no document could mend. Yet in the locket's cool weight, Elena's voice echoed. Action, not apology. Afternoon brought uneasy truce. The family gathered for Elena's farewell lunch, plates passed in strained silence. Sophia linked arms with Julia, whispering, We'll weather this. For her. Carmen nodded across the table, a conspirator's wink. But Tomas's absence loomed, a void. As plates cleared, he returned, dirt-streaked, eyes hollow. He approached Julia, envelope in hand. His own letter, perhaps? No. A faded snapshot, him as a boy on Elena's knee, both laughing by the river. I found this, he muttered. She kept it close. Said I was her little river. Always flowing, never still. A swallow. Maybe I stopped flowing somewhere. Afraid of the bends. Julia took the photo, bridges forming in the space between. We all bend, Papa. It's how we reach the sea. He nodded, tentative. Tell me about her. Juliana. The question cracked her open. Over coffee on the terrace, words spilled. Juliana's sketches of forgotten pueblos, her midnight poetry readings, the way she danced salsa with abandon, pulling Julia into spins that dissolved the world. Tomas listened, mustache twitching with what might have been a smile. Dusk fell, fireflies igniting. The family drifted to the patio, guitars tuning. Flamenco swelled, duende raw and redemptive. Julia swayed alone at first. Then Sophia joined, hands clapping rhythm. Even Tomas tapped a foot. Miguel slunk to the shadows, phone in hand, texting perhaps his petty schemes. But Carmen intercepted. drawing him into a dance, her steps a subtle schooling. As stars wheeled, Julia felt the turning. Not resolution but possibility. Elena's secret had unearthed theirs, betrayal's blade dulled by truth's light. Yet climax loomed, the wills reading formal, Tomas's simmering doubt. For now, in the music's embrace, love held. Dawn broke over the finca like a hesitant apology, mist veiling the guadiana in gauzy whites. Julia woke to the scent of fresh bread. Sophia's doing, a ritual of resilience. The locket nestled against her collarbone, a quiet talisman, but sleep's refuge had fled. Downstairs, the notary reconvened the family in the sala, documents arrayed like battle plans. Tomas sat ramrod straight, eyes on the horizon beyond the window, where eagles wheeled over the vineyards. The air crackled with unspoken ultimatums. Señores y señoras, the notary intoned, adjusting his glasses. Elena Vargas's testament is unequivocal. The finca passes primarily to Julia Sofia Vargas, with shared maintenance rights. The vineyards and liquid assets to Tomas and Sofia equally. A trust for the younger generation ensures harmony. Harmony. The word mocked. Tomas's knuckles whitened on the table. And this? Codicil. The personal bequests. The man nodded, sliding forward the addendum. To Julia, the locket and rose arbor artifacts. To Tomas, a letter to be read privately. He paused. Elena anticipated contention. She stipulated mediation through the parish council if needed. Mediation. Raphael barked a laugh. For what? Our sins? Family, Carmen interjected smoothly, is its own mediation. Let's hear the lady out. Julia accepted her portion first. Besides the locket, a small wooden box from the arbor, inside Carmen's poems yellowed pages of passion. In your eyes the sierras rise, in your touch the stars align. Elena's annotations dotted the margins. For when doubt clouds your dawn. Tears pricked. This was no inheritance but a mantle. Tomas took his envelope with reluctance, retreating to the study. Minutes stretched, the room's clock ticking like a pulse. When he emerged, face etched with fresh lines, he cleared his throat. She wrote. About me. The boy who feared the river's current, who clung to banks instead of swimming. His voice roughened. Said I judged her silence but mirrored it. Hiding my own pains after the divorce, the nights I drank to forget. A glance at Sophia, tender, pained. Blamed myself for pushing you away, Julia. For not seeing the current in you. Sophia's hand found his, a bridge long absent. We all hid, Tomas. But hiding ends today. The notary departed, leaving the family to its raw edges. Relief mingled with residue, Miguel's sullen pout, the cousin's averted eyes. Julia stepped outside, needing air, the box clutched like a heart. The rose arbor awaited, thorns tamed by morning dew. She sat amid the blooms, Elena's favorites. Deep crimson damasks, fragrant as memory. Footsteps, Tomas again. May I? She nodded, shifting. He settled beside her, the bench protesting. Those poems. They're beautiful. Like your mother's songs once. Once, Julia echoed, a shared ache. He fiddled with his cuff. I called the lawyer in Badajoz. Told him to drop any contest. The finca's yours, ours really. Fix it up. Bring Juliana here sometime. Show me those bridges you build. The olive branch trembled, but it held. Julia's chest loosened. She'd like that. She's got a way of seeing structures in chaos. A ghost of a smile. Like her grandmother. Inside, reconciliation unfurled tentatively. Sophia enlisting aunts for garden plans. Raphael toasting to Elena's wild heart. Miguel hovered, apology mumbled. Got carried away, Jules. Jealous maybe of your guts. She forgave, not for him but for the mending. By midday Julia packed, the Fiat waiting like a chariot. Hugs lingered, Sophia's fierce, Carmen's conspiratorial. Tomas walked her to the car, pressing a vineyard key into her palm. Come back monthly. For the harvest. And her. I will. A beat. Love you, Papa. He swallowed. And I you, Mija. Always have. The drive to Seville Airport blurred through tears and time-scented winds. Barcelona beckoned, Juliana's arms its harbor. At the gate Julia texted. Coming home. With stories and a future. Juliana met her at arrivals, curls loose, sign scrawled. Vargas Ruiz, one bridge at a time. They collided in a hug that drowned the world's noise, Juliana's whisper hot against her ear. Tell me everything. Over tapas that night, patatas bravas sharp as revelations, Julia unspooled the tale. Empty coffin unearthed love Tomas's thaw. Juliana listened, sketching idly on a napkin. The finca, roses entwining with abstract arches. And the betrayal? Juliana prompted, eyes keen. Miguel's barbs papias doubt, but they stemmed from fear, not malice. Elena's secret exposed us all. Made us human. Juliana traced Julia's hand. Humans enough. More than. Weeks blurred into rhythm. Barcelona's bustle, Juliana's firm projects, Julia's remote designs for sustainable bridges, ironic spanning divides. They planned the finca visit. August under Leo's fire. Sophia called weekly voice lighter. Tomas sent photos of prune vines, captioned bending. But drama's echo lingered. One rainy October eve as they pored over blueprints in their flat, overlooking the Gothic spires, Julia's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Tomas Vargas here. Need to talk.
Urgent.
Heart-seizing, she answered. His voice strained. The soil tests. Blight in the East Vineyard. Could lose half. Thought. Maybe your expertise? Bridges and roots at. Relief flooded. On my way, Papa. Tomorrow. Juliana drove her to the high-speed train. Kiss lingering at the platform. Fix the roots. We'll graft the roses later. Extremadura welcomed with autumn golds. Leaves crunching underfoot. The finca stood resilient, Sophia's jamon simmering. Tomas met her at the gate, scythe idle. Thanks for coming. Family, she said simply. They walked the rows, soil rich and red, blight's edges like sorrow's fringe. Julia knelt, sampling fungal, treatable with rotation, Elena's compost magic. We'll save it. Amend the soil like hearts. He nodded, sweat beading. Speaking of, I read Carmen's poems. After you left. Made me think of your mother, young, fierce, unyielding. Sophia joined, basket of grapes swinging. He cried, Julia. Over the current's call. Said it was me. Laughter bubbled, genuine now. Dinner that night. Vineyard tales, Juliana's name invoked like kin. Bring her next time, Tomas urged. Teach this old dog new dances. Christmas dawned crisp, the finca aglow with luminarias. The family assembled, not full but fuller. Cousins tentative. Miguel subdued with a gift, a leather sketchpad. For your bridges. Juliana arrived Eve's end, nerves masked by poise. Black dress hugging her curves, curls pinned with a rose clip Julia had sent. Tomas greeted her at the door, handshake firm. Welcome, Juliana. Elena would have approved. Over cochinillo crackling in the hearth, stories flowed. Elena's gypsy tales, Juliana's abuela's flamenco legacy. Hands brushed under the table, Julia and Juliana's a quiet vow. Later, by the arbor under stars thick as promises, Juliana murmured. This place. Siu. Wild-rooted. And you, Julia replied, locket glinting. The bloom. Climax had crested not in fury, but forged, betrayal alchemized to bond. No grand tragedy but a humanistic hush. Lives bent, not broken, secrets sown as seeds. Years spun. The finca thrived, a queer haven, weekends with friends from Madrid seen, pride flags subtle in the roses. Tomas softened fully, dancing at their commitment ceremony in the garden, Sophia's tears joys. Elena's plot bloomed eternal, Carmen's poems reprinted locally, a quiet revolution. Julia and Juliana built more than bridges. Lives intertwined, from Barcelona lofts to Extremadura soils. Love, Elena had taught, isn't hidden flame but hearthfire. Warm, shared, unquenched. In the end, the empty coffin hadn't revealed a void, but volume. A story of endurance, where even in silence hearts roared.